Migration-based deployments. What are they and why don't I like them very much? We start with what migration-based database deployments are. Let's say you ship a database to a customer and you have chosen for your software to upgrade the database with migrations. That means you ship a script to the customer that your software will run when it's installed, and it will bring your database to, let's say, version 1 to begin with. Then if you want to upgrade from version 1 to, say, version 7, you would run the upgrade scripts for version 2, version 3, 4, 5, 6, and finally 7. Often migration-based deployments use some sort of tool like Entity Framework supports migrations, or Flyway, or Liquibase, or the DBUp component, or some other component or tool. And most of them use some kind of schema version table. So it kind of writes to a schema version table which version it just upgraded the database to. But since you can never trust your clients or customers or anyone else, you should always check for existence and use idempotent scripts. For example, if you want to create an index in your upgrade script, check if that index already exists, because chances are the DBA at your customer's place have already created an index, or a table, or added a column, or changed the data type of a column, etc., etc. So there's a lot of if statements in migration scripts most of the time. It could look a little something like this. This is the initialization script for a database called MigrationDB. We start by checking, does the database already exist? And if it doesn't, we will create it with a create database statement. Then we will use the migration database, and then we check, does the schema version table exist? If it doesn't, we will create it with a create table statement, and so on. You probably have more initialization of the database. But let's move ahead to version 1, where we have a little bit more code. We create some tables, and then in the middle of the screen you see an index being created. And as I said, we use the if not exists to check if the index already exists. So if this index doesn't exist, we create it, and the key columns are customer ID and order date in that order. Moving ahead to version 1.1. For some reason, us, the developers of this software, has decided that this index is no good, so we're going to drop it and create a new index. So if the index exists, we drop it. And if the new index does not exist, we create it. And the new index is more or less the same, but it has the order date as the first key column and the customer ID as the second key column. All good? Then we move to version 1.2, where we, the developers of the software, realized that the original index was pretty good after all, and the new index is not being used. So in version 1.2, we drop the index that was created in version 1.1, and we create again the index that we had in version 1.0 that we dropped in version 1.1. Now, if you are a customer using this software and you skip version 1.1 and you go from version 1.0 to version 1.2, that means you run the upgrade script from version 1.0 to version 1.1, which will drop an index and create a new index. Then your software will run version 1.2 script to upgrade the database, which will drop the index that was created in version 1.1 and recreate the index that we had in version 1.0. That is a lot of unnecessary create and drop just to end up with the exact same index we already had in version 1.0. Imagine this database or this table being terabytes big. This is going to be a quite heavy process. And to avoid that, you would probably customize the upgrade scripts, and you have to go back to version 1.1 script and version 1.2 script and alter them afterwards, and you will have to check, is the customer going from version 1 directly to version 1.2, then skip the index that was created in version 1.1, etc. And it becomes pretty messy. And this is one of the reasons I'm not a big fan of migration-based database deployments, and why I much prefer state-based or model-based database deployments. If you like this and you want to see more about state-based or model-based database deployments, please follow this channel and more will come. Thank you.